Welcome to this week's episode of the Prep Athletics Podcast. I'm proud to have joining me Coach John Zall from Vermont Academy. And we have a great conversation today because we talk about John's background of coaching at the D2 level, the D3 level, high school, and then working in the NBA for a season. Great intel on that. He shares what it's like to go to Vermont Academy, the competition there being AAA and the NEPSAC, what postgrads do academically, reclassing versus not, what it takes to be a D1 guard, which is a question we always ask, and much, much more. So John is a great interview, shares a lot of good information here. So thanks for tuning in and hope you enjoy the podcast. Welcome to the Prep Athletics Podcast. This is Corey Heights.
Some battles. I'm not sure if they got us. If they did, maybe.
So you will get better as a player during that year.
So it was kind of exciting, like, oh yeah, somebody wants me.
John, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So where did you grow up and how'd you get into coaching?
So I'm from Lynn, Mass, which is about 30 minutes north of Boston. It's a decent-sized city, about 100,000 people. And, I grew up playing basketball my whole life. I kind of fell in love with it when I was a kid and ended up going to college at Northeastern, which is, they're mid-major Division I, so I wasn't that good. So I was fortunate to kind of start my coaching career then, and after a few stops, has led me here to Vermont Academy.
Yeah, now you mentioned a few stops. You've coached high school, D2, D3, NBA, so you've got a pretty good background there that you're bringing to Vermont Academy. I want to go through each one of those levels and kind of figure out from you what specifically you learned. So starting at D3 at Trinity, like what did you take away from there being at the D3 level?
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you're at the Division III level where there isn't scholarships attached to it, you really have to make sure you're being selective when you're recruiting your roster. I was fortunate to, work for a great head coach, James Cosgrove. They went to the Final Four last year at Trinity. I think they were like 30-2, 30-3 or something. So, they kind of already had the blueprint and everything rolling. So I just tried to fit in the best when I got there. But it's so important that, you're finding kids at that level who love to play basketball, who it's really important to, who they want to work hard. Because, at the end of the day, it is Division III. Trinity's an unbelievable school. The alums go on to do great things. So, if a kid doesn't really love it, they're going to get to their sophomore year and go, well, I'm just going to hang out and I want to do an internship and, I want to start making a lot of money and that's awesome. But, you can't just go replace them. You don't have a scholarship. You can't take it from them and go find someone else. So you got to really make sure that you're finding the right kids. And coach has done a great job there, since he's been there.
When you were at Trinity, was that one of those D3 teams that would have like 20 players on the roster, or did you keep it pretty trim?
No, we tried to bring in probably, 3-4 kids every year. And, we would have walk-ons and stuff that, maybe would push our roster to 16 or 17. But for the most part, the guys playing, we would be right around that 14, 15, mark. I know that some schools in that league, right around COVID, they did start really pushing their rosters bigger because you had kids who were doing their 5th year. And so there's really 5 classes on the roster as opposed to, your normal 4.
Gotcha. And then, you're at Franklin Pierce, D2 school. What did you learn at that level?
So, that was my first, really, job in college coaching. So, I learned everything there. I learned how to recruit. I learned how talented you had to be, how well coached the other programs are, scouting, travel, all those sorts of things, scheduling, everything that goes into being a college program. And, they do have scholarships there, right? So, the kids are on full scholarship. And so, that brings a whole other complexity to it. And so, you have to make sure that, the kids are able to compete and that they're also good kids and, and that they're able to handle that, that league. And, that league has been, terrific forever. And, now kids are starting to transfer out of that league to Division I, and you're seeing the success that they've had, that they're having at Division I. And there were many of your kids that, every spring our office phone would get a call from probably every low Division I program trying to sell us some kid that's not playing for them and how good it'll be for us. And those kids would come work out, or they'd end up in the league somewhere, and, they would struggle, and they'd realize, how talented the players are. So it was an unbelievable opportunity. I'd worked for another longtime head coach, David Chadbourne, who recently left there a couple of years ago, and, just learned a ton. I've been really, really fortunate.
All right, you get there, you've not coached before, and you've got to go recruit, right? So the first time you either pick up a phone or go to a gym, did your head coach give you the rundown on how to recruit, or did you have to kind of figure that out on your own through trial and error?
Yeah, I mean, he was great because he just kind of let me go a little bit. He kind of, I started by emailing all the prep school coaches. This is back in the day, these guys have it so easy. I put our schedule on Twitter. You just go to our Twitter. Everyone else puts their schedule on Twitter, and it's a daily update. I mean, you used to have to email the coaches and then follow up and do all this stuff. So, I just kind of ended up going to gyms and kind of learning about, who's recruiting this kid? Where is he going? How are we trying to play? What is the positions that we're looking for? And, if it was someone serious, God bless Coach Chadbourne, he would always get in his car and go see someone. And there were a couple of times we joke about it. He said, no way. But and sometimes, you find a good player that ends up fitting. And, and I think the longer you do this, and now I've been recruiting now for, probably over 10 years, is you just kind of form this Rolodex in your head of, well, I remember watching that kid play at high school or prep school. He ended up going here. He had success. He didn't have success because of X, Y, Z. And you start kind of forming these opinions, and you have this reserve of knowledge just from being around it. And I'm always trying to keep up with all those leagues too, and see where kids from our league, now in the NEPSAC that we're competing against, where are they ending up? How successful are they? Are they playing? Where did they go? Did they transfer? Why did they transfer? So I think when you're doing it for a little bit, you're fortunate because you do kind of, gain that experience, and you start to figure out where kids fit and where they can be successful.
Absolutely. Now, your first time recruiting a player is probably different than after doing it for as many years as you did. What makes a good college recruiter? What skill did you start incorporating after doing it for so many years that you might not have done at the beginning?
I think it's just information gathering. I think, obviously you want good players, right? That's probably the easiest thing to find, right? You just watch the game, especially now. I mean, every game these kids play is online if you can't make it. Every kid has highlights from, they'll play a weekend AAU tournament, and there'll be weekend highlights on their Twitter. So evaluating the good players and finding who's actually good is not hard. And, then you have to start digging into the other stuff, right? Are they a good kid? Are they a hard worker? Do they want to be good? What is their family situation like? Who else is involved in their life? Who else is recruiting them, right? Do you have the opportunity to get them? When you're at the Division III level, Trinity is really fortunate. They meet 100% of financial need. But, that's not for everyone either, right? So, is this family ready to pay money to go to school, or are they just going to basically take the cheapest deal they could find? And so I think just gathering information as much as you can is beneficial. And even now, you might try to take a shortcut or, try to do something without really knowing all the facts. And it usually does come back to bite you. So I think that's always important, when recruiting.
Yeah. So you gather more information. Did your pitch or your conversations with kids change over that time?
I don't really think so. No, I think it's just all about finding the kids that will fit your program and fit your school.
Okay.
You start to develop, hey, these kids are successful. These kids have a good experience at your school as a whole. These kids have a good experience in your program. And, also too, now that I'm a head coach, before I was recruiting for other head coaches, my bosses, would they enjoy coaching this person, right? Do their values align with their, the prospects' values align with the head coach's values? And because you see a lot of that sometimes, a coach will recruit a kid and their best skill is X, and that program doesn't really value that. And the kid doesn't have a good experience. And it's like, well, yeah, because they can shoot and, the team averages 61 points a game and they want to grind you out defensively or vice versa or whatever it may be. And, this person's a big and they want to play 5 guards. And so, whatever it may be, I think understanding what works and who's successful is probably the most important thing.
Yeah. So now in your seat as the prep school coach at Vermont Academy, when these coaches start talking to your kids, I'm sure you've got a good position to figure out, like, you can translate almost for the kids. Like, hey, he said this. This is what this means. So you explain that a little bit more to families that are watching this right now, like how you can help in the recruiting process with, like, when coaches are recruiting the kid, what it all means.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably over half the job now, is trying to figure out what these guys mean, what they're actually thinking, what they're doing most of the time. And maybe sometimes I think, we're actually helping them think through it themselves, but I think that's just the big thing, especially when you have older guys on your team, you have a 5th-year senior, you have a post-grad, you have guys who, if they're not committed, that last year, time's moving. And so you're trying to make sure you're getting to the bottom, and, you're not getting a kid's hopes up, or you're not wasting a coach's time, if a kid doesn't want to go there. And so just trying to figure out where everyone is in the process and getting everyone on the same page. And, I've always just kind of believed too, honesty is a good thing. And, I try to do my best when I make a phone call to a coach to make sure that I'm calling them about someone who can play at their level, or not even play at their level, impact their level. Right. Because, if I don't, then next time I call for XYZ kid, they're not gonna pick the phone up. Or vice versa. If a kid doesn't want to go to a school, or, for whatever reason, that's not their level, they don't want to go far from home, making sure that they're, handling it the best way that they can, so that that coach and that program will want to come back and recruit a kid in the future. And, so we're not wasting their time. And so I think it's just always good to over communicate and try to figure out and get everyone on the same page.
Yeah, love it. Now, you did D3 high school, D2, and you also did a year in the NBA in player development. Tell us about that experience and what you took away from it.
I mean, the NBA is amazing. It really is the best players in the world. Their work ethic, their intelligence, the way that they go about things. I mean, it's just incredible to be around on a day-to-day basis. And, the coaches are most of them are terrific too. And you learn a lot. And I love the NBA. I still have a lot of good friends there, and I still follow it. And I probably could have continued, but I probably could have continued in a space that, I didn't really want to be in. I had never done anything like that, where you were on a staff and you were like, one of 20 people. I had always been on a staff where I was, one of 2, one of 3 people, right. And you can really have an impact, and you can really develop as a coach. And I think that's where I've been fortunate is, I've been in these places and where you get to do things, right? Where you get to go in your car and just go to a gym and recruit. You get to go to AAU tournaments, you get to watch high school games. And I've been so fortunate, and that's how you kind of start building, I guess, your skills as a coach. And so I learned so much in the NBA, and I just kind of thought about, where do I want to go? How long is this going to take? And so I was really fortunate that I was able to go to Trinity, and that was actually my first full-time coaching job. And, I was able to kind of get back on the road and do all that stuff. So, and it ended up leading me to here. So, but the NBA is really unique.
Yeah, and mind you, about every player you talk to and every player I talk to eventually wants to get there, which I love the dream. But tell me this, what do those guys possess that maybe the average public doesn't realize?
Yeah, I mean, you're just not getting there. It's those guys are so good. It's almost like unreal, and it's funny. The other day, our guys were joking about Raymond Felton. So Raymond Felton, won a national championship at North Carolina, top, 10 recruit, 20 recruit, 10, 15-year NBA player. And he's kind of like a punchline in the NBA. He was on the Mavs when I was there. First off, he's an unbelievable guy. I mean, I can't even begin to describe how good he is at basketball. I couldn't even describe that to the average person. And so, yeah, it's, you don't want to crush dreams. And, again, certain guys find roles for certain teams and certain coaching staffs and all that. And you see it all the time. And certain, organizations are better at developing guys than others. But, to be at that level and play and make an impact for, multiple years, I mean, you have it all. You have it all. It's special. And that's the reason why they get paid so much money, and it's so hard to get there. And, they work like they do because there's nothing like it.
Fill me in. What's the punchline on him? Because I'm out of the zeitgeist on that one.
Well, I think everyone, you see stuff on social media and, he was a little overweight and everyone thinks he stinks and he's got some big contracts and supposedly he didn't live up to it. And so, I mean, I think people think like he's bad or something. And it's like, you have, so when I was there, I was fortunate because we had kind of an older team, a mature team. We had, it was Dirks really last year being good. We had Darren Williams, Chandler Parsons, Zaza Pachulia, Devin Harris, JJ Barea, Raymond Felton. We acquired David Lee halfway through the year. So, I mean, those guys, watching Darren Williams play basketball every day, it was like he was an alien. He's just the way his body moved, the things he could do, how effortless he played, his knowledge of the game and understanding. And they're just so special. They're just so special. And then when you're there, you're at the games and all the rest of the league comes through too. So now you're watching these guys from, 20 feet away, your John Walls and your Kevin Durant's and your Russell Westbrooks and Steph Curry. And it's just like, Kyrie Irving. When you're seeing these people in real life and you're like, you think you've seen a good point guard and you watch Kyrie Irving play and you're like, well, kid really can't do anything.
Right.
Those guys are those guys for a reason.
Right. I think it's easier to get struck by lightning twice than making it to the NBA. So,
it's crazy. And, we had a kid here, for previous 3 years who's, top 10 kid in the country. He's at Arizona State now and he's in some mock drafts and, who knows where his career is going to go. And he is so talented and he's a crazy hard worker. He's a really good person. And it's just, it's hard. It's hard. There's a lot of luck involved and, it's the opportunity and going to the right organization that values what he does. And it's tricky. It's tricky. And, it's hard for anyone to kind of bank on that,
Absolutely. Tell us about Vermont Academy as a school and as a basketball program. Give us your pitch.
Yeah. To be honest with you, I don't try to do a ton of pitching. I kind of just try to tell people this is what it is, right? This is exactly what it's going to be. And, we're a small school, we're about 230 kids now, we've been around, and I say this to all of our postgrads, we are a real school. We've been around for almost 150 years. There's classrooms and dorm rooms and a gym and a campus and there's a CAF and, 15 kids play on the team and 230 go here. So, this isn't just, we live in a house, we play basketball all day and, we play 70 games. And so, just trying to find kids who fit, this place, who understand, what being here entails and playing at the level that we play at against the programs and the players that we play against and who want that challenge, who want to push themselves, who want to get better, who have a goal, who have a vision. I think that's kind of more of what we look for. And, we only have one team here too. So, I tell families all the time, we can't hide you here. Every kid that we try to recruit, I recruit them with the understanding that they're going to contribute and make an impact in our program at some point before they leave. So if it's a post-grad, they got to be ready to go right away. And, we don't have a lot of post-grads, in our program at one time. This year we have the most we've ever had. We have 6. Last year we had 4. My first 2 years, we've only had 2. So, it's got to be the right fit and they got to want to embrace this and want to embrace this challenge. And so, we just kind of lay it out for them. Right. And, you mentioned our background in college. I think in college, you probably recruit a little bit more, right? Because kids in high school, prospects in high school, and they have to go to college, right? They are going to college. Here, a lot of times, like they don't have to come to prep school.
Right.
Right. So, they could easily just, if they graduate, go to college. Or they could easily, if they're still in high school looking to reclass, they could easily just stay at their high school. So I think understanding that and knowing exactly who we are is really, really important.
All right. Now let me ask you this. You obviously coached at a high academic D3. If you've got players that want to play high academic basketball, Ivies, high academic D3s, do they need to go to a high academic prep school or can they get there from other prep schools like yours, such as Vermont Academy? Like, does it matter what prep school you go to if you want to go high academic college route?
Well, I guess we're in that boat of a non-high academic. But last year at our school, our students have gotten, and we got kids in the Dartmouth, Amherst, Boston College, Boston University, NYU, Tulane, Northeastern. We got a 2 or 3 kids in there. So our kids are getting into some of the best schools in the world. These are just students.
Yeah.
Not even including our athletes. So, we're able to put a competitive schedule, together that I think can rival, any school in the country. And we have the acceptances to prove that. And, we're going to have 3 former alums in the past 2 years playing in the NESCAC this year, and 1 in the Patriot League. So, our school is able to, to stand up to the rigors of one of those schools' admissions departments.
Yeah, John, to me, I'm with you. I mean, it doesn't matter what school you go to. If an Ivy or NESCAC wants you, they're going to take you no matter what. But some parents have perceptions like, I got to go to these certain prep schools to get into these colleges. And I'm constantly trying to debunk that and say, no, it's not necessary. And, you've got a kid in the Ivy League from a pop-up basketball academy, right? So if that kid can get in there, like, it does not matter. To me, it's all about right fit. So let me ask you this.
That's great for us too, right? Parents who want that stuff, who say, good luck.
Yeah.
And they want to go somewhere else, and that's the experience they want. And that's fine with us. I mean, it doesn't bother us. We'll find somebody else
for everybody. Yeah. You'll
right.
find your folks. When a player comes to Vermont Academy, do they have to play other sports or do other activities, or can they just focus on basketball?
So we have our schools broken up into trimesters. And so they do an activity every trimester. So we offer strength and conditioning. Our school actually just built a brand new weight room this fall, which it looks nice. There's a part of me that's a little upset about it. Our old weight room was really small and it was kind of older, but it had some character. So I'm worried that these guys in this new weight room are feeling a certain kind of way. So sometimes we'll go work out in the old weight room. They still have some of the equipment in there. So we offer strength and conditioning. They are able to do an independent, if they're proving that they're doing, other sports outside of that, whether that be, playing club basketball or, a college strength and conditioning program, and some of our kids do choose to play other sports. Some of them will play tennis in the spring, or they'll golf, or, but for the most part, they're able to kind of still work on the things that they need to work on, and able to get everything done.
Gotcha. And then you said you have 6 postgrads this year. What do the academics look like at VA for a postgrad?
So to be honest with you, every postgrad's different, right? And we had a kid come here last year who needed to take pre-calc. We had a kid who came here last year who took 3 AP courses. We have kids who are here now who are taking a couple art courses. So I think it's not a one size fits all. I think every kid needs something different. Every kid has different goals and aspirations. So we try to work with those kids individually and make sure that their schedule is reflecting what they're hoping to do, the following year.
Gotcha. Do you guys offer AP and college credits by chance?
We do, yeah. Yeah, I think right now we have 15 different AP courses where kids can sit for the test in the spring.
Gotcha. Okay. And what do you look for in a player? Like when you're out there recruiting in a gym, like who do you want on your team at Vermont Academy? Like style wise or character wise? Like give me your ideal candidate.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the one thing that everything always comes back to is, do they love basketball, right? Because if they love basketball, I think everything else will take care of the rest. They'll do the work necessary. They'll do the extra work. They'll behave on campus. They'll become great community members. They'll, engage with their teammates, and you try to find as many kids like that, who love the game, who want to be in the gym, who, they have a free hour. They want to go, they can walk to the dorm for the gym in 90 seconds. They go get a lift in, those are the kids who, when you give them a day off, they're texting you going, can we work out? Can you send me a lift? Can you, those are the kids that we really try to look for, because those are the kids that we've had success with since I've been able to get here to Vermont Academy. So I think that's just kind of the first and foremost. And I mean, obviously, I think you need a prerequisite of talent, but I think if you have those other things and you're willing to work for it, and if you're here for enough time, I think that you can compensate for maybe, a smaller size or lack of athleticism or whatever it may be. If you love it and you want to be good at it, I think that can overcome everything.
Got it. I like that baseline. That's a good one. Can you tell, like, going to an event, can you tell if someone really loves basketball, or do you need to do more digging on that?
Well, I mean, I think it's always, the families that go, how often can they get in the gym? Those are usually the kids who don't like basketball, right? Because the kids who need to get in the gym, they're just going to get in the gym. They ain't going to ask me to get in the gym. They're not going to ask me where a ball is or where the gun is, or they're just going to get in the gym, right? And I mean, I think, anytime you see a kid and a kid's really skilled or a kid's in really good shape, or you can tell that, you're at one of their games and they're really focused before their game and they're really into the game and they're really, those are the kids, so there's signs. There's for sure signs, families will come and say he lives in the gym and he can't do anything. I mean, chances are either he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing or he's not in the gym. So I think it's usually pretty obvious, when they're here. And, we try to have them talk to our guys and our guys tell them what it's like. And, I tell kids, if you love basketball, if you want to challenge yourself, and, you'll love it here. This will be home. Your teammates, you'll bond for the rest of your life with them, and you guys will forge relationships over this common goal. And if you just kind of like it and you just want to be on social media and say you're going to Vermont Academy or you're playing in AAA or you're doing all this stuff, I mean, you're not going to be happy here because your teammates are going to care too much and they're just going to kind of run you over. So we try to do our best. I've not batted 100%. But we're trying.
All right. One thing you mentioned was gym time, and it's kind of an arms race now among prep schools and more so basketball academies on how much gym time you can get per week, right? And some of these basketball academies will say, like, you can get 10 hours in the gym a day. And to me, it's all about quantity versus quality. So walk me through the opportunities kids have at VA to get in the gym.
Yeah, I mean, we're fortunate here. We don't have a volleyball team. Our gym isn't a field house. Our gym is our gym. It belongs to us. It belongs to our women's program. And almost always the gym's open. It's open in the morning. It's open during free blocks. It's open after dinner. It's open whenever it is that we're not in there working out or our women's team isn't in there working out. I tell families, not being able to get in the gym will not be an excuse for not being good here. It just doesn't exist. And that things are good when you walk up there to get a workout in yourself, or you walk by because you got to go grab something and you see two kids in there shooting, or you go walk past the weight room and a kid's in there lifting. And so those are when we've been really good and things have been going well, those are always pretty good telltale signs. So gym access is always available when you're available. And so, yeah, our kids benefit from it.
Excellent. Now, an underclassman reaches out to you. They're in 10th grade, and they're not sure if they want to reclass or not when they come to VA. How do you explain the benefits of reclassing versus not?
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, every situation is different. And I think families, all feel certain kind of ways about the process. And I think explaining it to them, the how it works and how, I think sometimes families think like, you're going to take all the same classes again. And, that's not really exactly how it works. So just trying to explain to them everything that it entails, how it can help them. But ultimately, it's the family's decision, right? And, and then it also comes down to your decision, right? Do you want a kid for 2 years or do you want a kid for 3 years? Do you want a kid for 2 years? Do you want a kid for 1 year? So all of these things matter, and, they go into how you view them as a player and how much time you have with them. And yeah.
If you don't reclass and you graduate from Vermont Academy, can you stick around and also do a 5th year there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Some prep schools don't allow that for some reason. I don't know why, but that's good to know. Okay.
Yeah.
That's why in that situation, I didn't know for VA, if you're going to be there for 3 years, does it make sense to reclass and do 10th, 11th, 12th, or do 11th, 12th post-grad? If a kid had that option, is there one way that's better than the other at VA specifically?
I mean, I always think it's better to be with your class if you're going to do it. Now, if a kid needs academic help and we think they're going to need that 5th year, to count for some courses or something, that's a different story. But, every kid we've had here with multiple years of high school eligibility has reclassed. And so, that's kind of what the families have chosen to do. I've never really steered them one way or the other. I've just tried to explain the benefits and the cons to it, and how it all works. And we actually had 2 kids last year who reclassed back up. Who were originally supposed to, one was supposed to be here for 4 years, one was supposed to be here for 3 years, and they got opportunities in college and they ended up going, which is also great. And bless you, and they did it the right way, and we were fortunate to have them for as long as we did.
Awesome. Now, good. I'm glad you cleared that up, because every school is a little bit different with that. And, I usually tell families, talk to the coach specifically and see what works best for you. So, all right, since COVID, obviously it's harder to get into college. The game has gotten older at the college level, but you have to place your kid still. John, what's your strategy for placing a kid? Are you doing a lot of the work? Are AU coaches, are families taking this on? Like, walk me through, if my son's coming to Vermont Academy, how the college placement works with your system.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the first conversations we have with the family, right? Is we're trying to get a sense of what their goals and what their vision is for themselves, right? And I think that, being on the same page with that is really, really important, right? And I think that's oftentimes what leads to a lot of sour relationships is kid thinks they're X, doesn't end up getting X, and the next thing I hated my year there, it was a waste of time, all those sorts of things. So we really try to do our due diligence, and we talked about earlier, gathering information, and we try to do everything we can to put our guys in good situations to be seen. And playing at this level, I tell them all the time, this is the best thing you can do, right? I mean, we've filmed every single game since I've been the head coach here. Everything's on YouTube, and college coaches have access to it. And the best part about this is, if you play well in one of our games, or you're doing good things consistently, there's no question about who you're playing against. Right.
Yes.
That other team has college players. Most of the teams we play against, they do not put a non-college player on the floor, period. So any success our guys have, they're doing it against their peers who are going to be playing in college. And, I always do my best. I'm not a big, let's chase the highest thing. I want all of our guys to hopefully have an impact in their first 2 years, wherever they go. Because I just think that leads to good experiences. And hey, especially now too, kids have a good 2 years and they're off somewhere else. We had a kid who's first team, All-America East last year, and he's at Boston College now. And so, I think bringing them somewhere where they can have an impact and not just play, because the program is bad or because they needed that position or whatever it may be, have an impact and really impact the program. That's always kind of our goal here, rather than just let's send you to the highest place so then I can tell the next kid, oh, you went there. I'd much rather tell the next kid what I just told you about. Hey, we had a kid who went to college and did well. This past week we had the NEC Rookie of the Week. These are the things. We had a kid last year who was first guy off the bench on the Division III Final Four team. Those are things that we like telling families. Rather than they went to an SEC school, but they don't play and they transferred down. And so, great.
Gotcha. Now, obviously, your AAA, you kind of mentioned the benefits of going up against teams where every player on it is a college player, but I want you to put your college hat back on and assume you're back at Franklin Pierce or Trinity. If you like a player, does it matter if he's playing single A, double A, or triple A, or even B in NEPSAC?
Well, I mean, as the coach of Vermont Academy, I'm supposed to say yes, right? It does matter. You want to be playing triple A. But I think again, it's all relative, right? And I think the benefits of, our schedule and being in a place like this is, we have 33 games scheduled this year. And I'd say, 27 of them, 26 of them are going to be against schools where we won't play against a non-college player, right? So that's the benefit of being at our level, right? It's opportunity, it's competition. You're playing at their gym on the road. It's like, college coach, I was talking to him recently and I was like, our guys aren't going to be scared. You go to St. Thomas More and you have 12 rebounds. I mean, there ain't a harder place to do it than there. So, I think those experiences and being able to put that on film or do it in front of people is just so valuable. And in those other levels, I mean, I'm friends with so many of those guys. They're unbelievable coaches. They run unbelievable programs. And it just might be a little different in terms of just the consistency and the depth.
Gotcha. What do you see as the future of prep school basketball?
That's a great question. I think things have changed so much the past few years with NIL and, and now kids getting a lot of NIL in high school. And I don't know where our schools go with that, right? I always think that we should lean into being schools. I think that that's our benefit, right? And I think that's the market that we're going to have. And there's going to be plenty of really good players in their families who want that experience, right? They want a boarding school. They want to prepare for college. They want to set roots down and be at a school for multiple years and make relationships and have an alumni network and all those things. So, I think that should be our future, and not only just the knapsack, but, the schools in Virginia, the schools in Pennsylvania, the schools in New Jersey. I think that's our strength. But where it's going, I mean, who knows? We have no idea. Does USA basketball, does the NBA, does someone intervene at some point and, have a developmental model similar to European soccer? Everyone keeps saying that. It hasn't happened yet or appear close. And so Nike, I think, it tried it and doesn't really seem it. And so, I think that's the benefit of our league, maybe compared to that league, is every team we play is good. We don't have to get on a plane to play 4 good teams. We just get in a bus or get in a van and we can drive less than an hour away and play a really good program with really good players and a really good coach. And so, yeah, we're really lucky.
Yeah, you've got the NBA, you've got Nike, you've got the academies, the overtimes kind of popping up. And I see the top players maybe looking at that more to potentially take advantage of NIL. But personally, with, the league on ESPN that's got prep schools on it, just the social media around it, I think the prep school game is just getting more and more attention, not only outside New England, but around the globe. So to me, you might not have as many marquee names in the New England world or the prep school world, but you will have more and more solid players coming that are smart, that are interesting, that bring something to a school. So my personal opinion, John, the top players might have more options and might go straight to the league here in the near future, but the game's only going to get stronger. You're going to have a tougher time, I think, just picking which players you're going to want in your programs, which is a good problem to have. So we'll see if that comes true or not. No crystal ball, but I think it's trending upward in a big direction.
Yeah, and we're lucky, you watch those games on TV. I mean, we play a college game here. We play a 40-minute game. We have the NCAA 3-point line on our gym floor. We have a 30-second shot clock, the restricted arc. We're not playing a high school game. And so, sure. That's the other thing about playing at our level is, you need depth, right? If you're playing a 32-minute game and, you can play your 3 best players the whole game. You're playing quarters, you get 3 automatic breaks in halftime, and, your players can play the whole game. It's really hard. I mean, we had 2,000 point scorers on our team last year. One of them averaged, I think, 30 minutes. The other averaged 28, And so that's minutes up for grabs. If this was a regular high school, 32 minutes, those guys weren't coming out of the game, right. So I think it's just a little bit different.
All right, John, last question for you here. What does it take to play at the D1 level and be a guard? What do you need to possess?
I mean, I just think the big thing now is just probably shot making. Most of the guys who are Division I guards, for the most part, they're really, really good shot makers. Now the guys will, if the kid can make shots, then they'll tell you he's too small. Then you'll show him a bigger guard, and then they'll say he can't make shots. So, but I always think that those two things are probably the top two. Being able to make shots, and then having good positional size. I think that those are always kind of the two. Those are two things to lean on most of the time.
All right, a couple quick hitters here before we finish up. Who's the best player you've coached against in the prep school world?
Man, that's a really, really good question. What's the next question? I'm going to think about this.
Favorite movie?
I want to give a good answer. I want to give a good answer.
Favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I don't know. I don't watch a lot of movies. I like to remember the Titans. Does that count?
You're not getting graded on this. This is all fun.
Best player we played against. It might have been Marco Jackson. Marco Jackson from South Kent. He was there for a year. 2 years ago, they won AAA. He was terrific. Thomas Hall at Perkiomen, who's at Florida now, is really good. Luke Hunger at Northfield Mount Herman, who's at Northwestern, he was really good. You know, Kayshawn Tillery, who's at New Hampton now, he's really, really hard to play against. But there's just so, you know, it's funny because you're asking this question because there's just so many random kids who you're like, yo, you know, that kid's not a high major player. Like, you know, we played St. Thomas More last year. They had this kid, Isaiah Pasha, who's at Delaware now. I mean, he was probably the hardest kid we had to guard all year last year. And it's just like, there's just so many kids who, back to the depth of our level, who are like under the radar or their recruitment's not where it is. And, you know, we had a kid score 30 points against us last year who's at Division III right now. He just won Rookie of the Week. And it's just like, you know, there's just, these kids are good. These kids are good. And to be successful here, it's, you know, you got to be able to bring it. So for sure.
All right, last quick hitter. What are your hobbies when you're not coaching?
Well, you know, I told you the only reason I'm finally went on the show is because the book you sent my son. I have a 6-month-old son, and you sent him this book that like plays music. And my wife says to me, like, he loves this book. And, you know, the book seems really complicated. So luckily my wife deals with it. But so, you know, I have a 6-month-old son now, and these are kind of my hobbies. I have the team and I have my family, and that's kind of where it dies. So that's good enough though. That's good enough. It's kind of all you really need.
You've got a ski jump at Vermont Academy. Will you ever go off it?
So the ski jump's actually closed.
I know, but still, people unofficially must go down it, right?
It used to be Olympic regulations. I've never skied or snowboarded a second in my life. Okay. So I wouldn't even know where to begin. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I don't know why, when it's cold, you'd want to go outside. It also seems really dangerous going that fast. So it's kind of nearly never been for me. It's also expensive. So those are like my 3 no's. But people love it. So God bless them. We don't use our hill a lot. We partner with Mount Snow. We have like a ski academy that we partner with. This is a little plug for Vermont Academy. We're one of the only schools, I think, in the world that is partnered with an actual ski academy where kids can live there, you know, for a trimester and still attend Vermont Academy. We have teachers there and everything. So we don't use this hill a lot. The jump is still cool. I assume that's probably why they haven't taken it down, but it's never been used, I think, for a while.
What about for uphill conditioning? You ever thought about that?
So they do. That's part of strength and conditioning. They do run. There's a hill next to that, and they do run that. Those are big hills, and then we have some smaller hills off one of our fields, you know, up behind it. So they run a lot of hills. It is great. Our strength and conditioning coach does an unbelievable job with them and really gets them ready.
Perfect. Is there anything we didn't touch on today that you want to mention before we go?
No, this has been great. I'm happy that we finally have gotten it in. I feel like sometimes, you know, you'll look at our schedule and you'll ask me, you know, I think last time you asked me, it was like one of our playoff games. You do not want to be talking to me on that day. And you asked for this Friday where we also have a game. Today was good though. Today was good. I really, really appreciate it. I appreciate everything you do, you know, for our sport and for our schools too. You know, I think that you promote our schools and you give our schools a good name. You add some legitimacy to it. So we really, really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that. Where can people find you, John?
So our account, we have a Twitter and an Instagram. I'm probably better on Twitter or X, whatever it's called. It's Vermont Acad Hoop. That's both the Twitter and the Instagram. And we try to update our program as much as possible, what our alums are doing, when we have games, the results of our games, what our current players are doing. We try to do everything under the sun on our social media accounts that we can. There will not be cool graphics. There won't be any clip art or anything like that. You know, it's just going to be information.
Got it. Well, John, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today and sharing about your background at Vermont Academy. And good luck this season.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Guys, if you like this, be sure to subscribe to the newsletter by going to prepathletics.com and subscribe to us on all the podcasting platforms and YouTube where we have bonus content. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on the Prep Athletics Podcast. Take care.